Hello my scholars, this is my school YouTube channel and I am Frank. In today's video, we shall be learning about simple structure of matter. So relax, do not go anywhere and we'll be right back. Welcome back to my school YouTube channel. In today's video, like I said earlier, we are going to be learning about simple structure of matter. So as usual, before we begin with this lesson, let's quickly run through the objective of today's lesson. So 1, describe the atomic structure of matter. 2, state the constituents of the atom. 3, use kinetic theory to explain the 3 states of matter and diffusion. 4, describe the structure of simple crystals. 5, give 2 examples of a crystal. 6, distinguish between crystalline substances and amorphous substances. 7, define surface tension in liquids. And 8, classify fluids according to their viscous properties. 9, give at least 2 examples of the application of surface tension and viscosity. And 10, state the similarities and differences between friction and viscosity. So let's begin with our lesson. So on the first slide, we are going to be discussing about matter and the atom. So before we begin, I want to tell us that our environment is made up of matter. So it is necessary for us to know the meaning of matter. So matter is defined as anything that has mass and occupies spaces. And we should also know that matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. Okay, and atoms are the smallest unit of matter that can exist by themselves. So atoms are capable of independent existence. They are so small that they cannot be seen with a regular microscope. Okay, so let's move down to talk about atom. So atoms are made up of even smaller particles, namely protons, electrons, and neutrons, right? And protons and neutrons are found in the nucleus of the atom, while the electrons orbit the nucleus. Proton is positively charged, as we all know, and it has a mass of 1. Electrons are negatively charged and has a mass of 1 over 1840, that of the mass of hydrogen. Okay, while neutron is neutral and it also has a mass of 1, just like proton. So the diagram below is a simple structure of an atom. So the green circles here represent the proton, while the blue circle represents the neutrons. And take note, we said they are found in the nucleus of the atom, while the red balls here represent, or the red circle represents electrons. Okay, and the electrons orbit the nucleus of an atom. Okay, so as you can see from the diagram, the number of electron is equal to the number of proton. Okay, so that makes an atom neutral, while the number of neutrons varies. Okay, and because of the variation of the number of neutrons, I think this is what led to the phenomenon of isotopy. Okay, so just take note of all that. So let's move to the next slide. So here we are going to be talking about the state of matter. So matter exists in 3 states, namely solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, the state of matter of a substance depends on the pressure and the temperature of the substance. So below we'll be describing these 3 states of matter one after the other. So for solid, a solid have definite shape and volume. They are made up of closely packed atoms, okay, that are not free to move about. So what they simply do is that they vibrate, okay, about their main position. Okay, while for liquids have definite volume but not definite shape. They are made up of atoms free to move about, but they are still attracted to each other. Okay, so liquid does not have definite volume. What they do is that they assume the shape of the container in which they are found. So for example, if they are found in a container that is cylindrical in shape, so they are going to assume that cylindrical shape. Okay, while for gases have no definite shape and they have no definite volume. They are made up of atoms free to move around and are not attracted to each other. Okay, so that is that for the simple description of the 3 states of matter. So let's move to the next slide. So on the next slide, we are going to be talking about evidence of the particle nature of matter. Okay, so we need to prove, okay, we need to let people know that this matter that we are talking about is made up of particles, and we need to let them know how it was discovered that they were made up of particles, right? And what you must take note of is that when we are talking about particle, we are actually referring to atom, we are referring to molecule or ion. So just take note of that. So we have many evidences to show that matter is made up of particle, okay? But in this lesson, we are just going to examine 3 of those. Okay, so we begin with Brownian motion experiment. So in Brownian motion experiment, tiny particles are suspended in liquid such as water. Okay, so when the whole setup is viewed under a microscope, it was discovered that the suspended particles were constantly moving around. Okay, and this movement is caused by the collisions of the particles with the molecules of the liquid. So we define Brownian motion as the rapid, constant, and irregular motion of tiny particles. Of course, tiny particles that are suspended in liquid or fluid. Okay, so the word fluid actually denotes both liquid and gases. Okay, so sometimes particles too can be suspended in gases, just like smoke are suspended, sometimes are suspended in air. Okay, so let's move on to the second evidence that shows that matters are made up of particles, which is diffusion. So diffusion is the process whereby molecules migrate and fill an empty space due to continuous motion. We can as well define diffusion as the movement of molecules from the region or from the area of high concentration or higher concentration to the region or area of lower concentration. Okay, so the following factors affect the rate of diffusion: size of the particle. So the smaller the size of the particle, the higher the rate of diffusion. Then also temperature. Okay, the higher the temperature, the higher the rate of diffusion. Then we also have concentration gradient. Okay, so diffusion occurs more in area of higher concentration than areas of lower concentration. Then we also have the state of matter. Okay, whether the matter is solid, liquid, or gas. And one thing we must know that the rate of diffusion is highest in gases, okay, and least in solid. So the third evidence that we are going to be examining is osmosis. And osmosis is the process by which, when 2 solutions of different concentration are separated by semi-permeable membrane, the molecules of the solvent pass through the semi-permeable membrane from the weaker solution to the stronger solution. So by semi-permeable membrane, we mean membranes that allows only the molecules of the solvents to pass through it without allowing the molecules of the solutes to pass through it. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So here we are going to be discussing about the kinetic theory of matter. Okay, so the kinetic theory of matter is also known as the atomic theory of matter, and this theory assumes that all matter consists of tiny particles called atoms, and these tiny particles are always in constant motion. Okay, and the fact that these particles are always in constant motion tells us that these particles possess kinetic energy. So the motion of the particles is what determines the property of matter, such as its temperature and pressure. So the next subheading, we are going to be using the kinetic theory of matter to explain the states of matter and also diffusion. So the kinetic theory of matter can be used to explain the 3 states of matter. So just like we have said earlier about solid, it's still the same thing. Okay, so in a solid, the particles are closely packed together and they do not have much freedom of movement. Like I said earlier on, they can only vibrate about their mean position. Okay, and this is the reason why solids have definite shape and volume, because the particles of solids are packed together and they do not have much freedom of movement. Okay, while in liquid, the particles are still attracted to each other, but they have more freedom of movement than in a solid. And this is why liquid have definite volume, but their shapes can change, and it depends on the container in which they are contained. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So in a gas, the particles are not attracted to each other at all, meaning that the particles have the freedom to move about. So this is the reason why gases have no definite shape or volume. Why? Because the particles are not connected to each other at all. Okay, they have all the freedom to move about. So in terms of diffusion too, we can as well use the kinetic theory to explain diffusion. Okay, so the kinetic theory of matter can also be used to explain diffusion. According to kinetic theory, particles in a substance are constantly moving and colliding with each other. The faster the particles are moving, the more likely they are to collide with each other. When particles collide, they exchange energy. If a particle is in an area of high concentration, it will have more collision with other particles. These collisions will transfer energy to the particle, causing it to move to an area of low concentration. But take note of what we have said here. Okay, remember the principle of conservation of energy that says that energy can neither be created but can be changed from one form to another. So during the point, okay, where the particles, the collided particles exchange energy, so they only exchange energy, okay, but no energy is destroyed, right? Remember that the total energy of a closed system is conserved. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So here we are going to be talking about surface tension, which is also an important topic in physics. So when fluids are at rest, intermolecular forces act on them, resulting in phenomenon called surface tension and capillarity. These molecular forces are cohesive force and adhesive force. So what do we mean by cohesive force? Cohesive force simply refers to the force of attraction that exists between molecules of the same substances. Okay, just like the molecules of water. So it is this force that is responsible for the characteristic thickness of liquid. Okay, and it is actually what gives them their shape. Okay, that helps them to maintain their shape. Then we have the second intermolecular force known as adhesive force. This refers to the force of attraction between molecules of different substances. Let's take, for example, the molecules of water and glass. Okay, so these two forces also explains why water wets glass. So water wets glass because the force of adhesion is greater than the force of cohesion. As it spreads, it wets the glass. That is just the simple reason why water wets glass. So water wets glass because the force of attraction between the molecules of the water and the surface of the glass is greater than the force of attraction between the water molecules themselves. So for this reason, when water spreads, it wets the glass. Then similarly, mercury does not wet glass because the force of cohesion is greater than the force of adhesion, right? That is, the force of attraction between the molecules of the mercury is greater than the force of attraction between the molecules of the mercury and glass. So for this reason, mercury does not wet glass. So when mercury spills on glasses, what it does is that it forms a small spherical droplet on the glass. That is all that mercury does. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So on the next slide, we are still under surface tension, right? So surface tension, now we want to know the meaning of surface tension basically. So surface tension is a phenomenon observed at the interface between a liquid and another medium, okay, such as air or another liquid. It's the result of cohesive force between the molecules within the liquid that causes the surface of the liquid to behave as if it were a stretched elastic skin. Okay, so surface tension is the force that acts along the surface of a liquid, causing the liquid to behave as if as a stretched elastic skin. Let's examine some of the effects of surface tension. One of them is some incense work on water surface. Okay, so some incense are able to work on water surface, okay, without their leg penetrating the water because of surface tension. Then number two, dry plant leaves float on water surface, and this is also as a result of surface tension. Then number three, formation of balloon or bag by drop of water forming slowly on the mouth of a water tap, okay, are also as a result of surface tension. If you have maybe if you have a tap, okay, and it's not properly locked, okay, sometimes you see some spherical drop of water, okay, falling down. Before that spherical drop of water falls down, first of all, it spends a little time on the mouth of the tap before falling down. Okay, the reason for that is because of surface tension. So water gradually fills the balloon. The elastic bag supports the weight of the water until the spherical drop of water falls. Then four, flotation of needle on water. Okay, so this can be achieved by placing a needle on a filter paper. Then you carry the filter paper, gently place it on the surface of the water. So when the filter paper soaks and is destroyed, the needle will float on the surface of the water. So let's move to the next slide. Now here we are going to be explaining using molecular theory to explain surface tension. So before we start, one thing you must know in this diagram is that this is a diagram of water, okay? And we have decided to isolate just two molecules of those water. So one of them we call A and the other one we call B. Now take note that a pool of water is an aggregation of molecules of water, okay, coming together to form a pool of water. So what we did here to make the explanation easy is just to isolate two of them. So we have one within the body of the water and we have one near the surface of the water. So this particular one, B, okay, is at the interface between the water and air, while this one is well within the water. Okay, so let's start with an explanation. Right inside the liquid, we see molecules such as A is in equilibrium. Why is molecule A in equilibrium? The reason why molecule A is in equilibrium is because it is attracted from all sides, from all directions, by other surrounding molecules. Okay, so this is molecule A, and around molecules A are other molecules too, okay, which we do not indicate, but they are there, right? So this molecule A is attracted from all directions by other surrounding molecules, and for that reason, molecule A is in equilibrium. So in that state, we say there is a zero net force on a molecule within the liquid, and this is true for other liquids too that are within the liquid. Now, for a molecule such as B near the surface, part of its sphere of molecular attraction is in air and part is in water, just as you can see in the diagram. So parts are in air while some parts are in water. The liquid has far more molecules in the liquid than air. As a result of this, more molecules are attracting B towards the liquid than outside. So if you check this very well, this molecule B, some part of it is in air while some parts are in the water, but the part that is in the water is greater than the part that is in the air. So the surrounding molecules are attracting molecule B, okay, more into the water than the molecules of air that are attracting it out of the water. That's what we are trying to say here. Okay, so the liquid has far more molecules in the liquid than air. As a result of this, more molecules are attracting B towards the liquid than outside. The resulting force on B is hence towards the liquid. Since you have more force attracting B, okay, towards the liquid than outward, then we have more force attracting the molecule B inside the liquid than outside the liquid. Okay, so the same occurs for all molecules near the surface. So this is also true for all molecules, okay, near the surface of the water. Consequently, the surface of the liquid is pulled inwards, straining the surface molecules, so they appear to be in a state of tension. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so here we are going to be discussing the application of the effect of surface tension, and we are just going to be taking two. So the first one is the production of waterproof materials. So waterproof materials are those materials that are actually used to produce things like umbrella, raincoats, and tents. Okay, your canopies. They are all waterproof materials. Okay, so these materials are treated with oil-based substances which prevent them from wetting the material. Then number two, we have cleaning action of soaps and detergent, right? With ordinary water, it is very difficult to wash oily plates or dirty clothes, right? And the reason is because the dirt repels water and it prevents the water from penetrating the clothes. Okay, but let us go through it. It is difficult to wash oily plates or dirty clothes with only water. This is so because the oil or dirt repel the water and does not allow the water to wet the plate or clothes for effective cleaning. So addition of soap or detergents weaken or break the surface tension of the water and then enable it to float away the particles of oil or dirt from the plate or dirty clothes. So these are the two applications of the effect of surface tension, though we still have more. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so here we shall be discussing reduction of surface tension. Okay, so surface tension can be reduced through one of the following means. Okay, by adding detergent or soap to the water, the surface tension will be reduced. By adding camphor to the water, the surface tension on the surface of the water will be reduced. By adding oil to the water, the surface tension on the surface of the water will be reduced. By adding alcohol to the water, by boiling the water, by using kerosene, by using grease. So these are some of the ways in which surface tension can be reduced. So from what we have said so far here, we can pick out 3 factors that affect surface tension. So we can say some of the factors that affect surface tension are the temperature of the liquid. Okay, the temperature of the liquid. The higher the temperature of the liquid, the lower the surface tension. So in this case here, we are talking about water. So the presence of impurity in water weakens the surface tension of water. And the last but not the least, the type of liquid. Okay, water has a higher surface tension than petrol, right? So those are the 3 main factors that affect surface tension. So let's move to the next slide. Now here we are going to be discussing about capillarity. So capillarity, also known as capillary action, is a phenomenon related to surface tension that describes the ability or tendency of a liquid to rise or fall in a narrow tube or capillaries due to the balance between cohesive and adhesive forces. The narrower the tube, the stronger the capillarity. Here are some points that are worth noting as far as capillarity is concerned. Rising or falling. Capillarity occurs when there is a difference in height between the liquid surface inside the capillary and the liquid surface outside the capillary. The liquid will either rise or fall within the capillary depending on the balance between cohesive and adhesive forces. Let's move to the next slide. Then also take note of the meniscus shape. The shape of the meniscus, which is in bracket curved surface, depends on the balance between cohesive and adhesive forces. If adhesive forces dominate, okay, take note of that. If adhesive forces dominate, the meniscus will be concave, curving downward. If cohesive forces dominate, the meniscus will be convex, curving upward. So let's talk about capillary action proper. So a capillary tube is just a tube with a very fine bore, right? Bore here simply means like something like a hole. Okay, so a capillary tube is a tube with a very fine bore. When a glass capillary is immersed in water, the water rises inside the tube. When a glass capillary is immersed in mercury, the level of mercury inside the tube falls below the level in the outer vessel. In the case of water, adhesive forces are strong enough to overcome its cohesive forces. And remember, we've talked about these forces. We said adhesive forces are forces of attraction between molecules of different substances, while cohesive forces are forces of attraction between molecules of the same substances. So for water, adhesive forces is stronger than cohesive forces. So for that reason, water will rise in a capillary tube when immersed, okay, when immersed in a jar, okay, containing water. This is why water exhibits capillary action. While in the case of mercury, cohesive forces are much stronger than its adhesive forces. This makes mercury to form round droplets and a convex meniscus. So this is where we end the preview for today's video, and I believe you enjoyed it. You can as well enjoy the complete video by clicking on the link in the description below, and this will take you to my school website. There you have to subscribe to enjoy the complete video. In the complete video, we discuss more on capillarity. We also talk about the structure of crystals, viscosity, and many more. I believe you are gaining something from this video. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release new video.